The morning sunlight streamed gently through the tall glass windows of the grand kitchen, painting the golden-colored walls with a glow that seemed warm, but it was only an illusion. The mansion, standing proud and polished on the outside, held secrets that no outsider could ever imagine. On this particular morning, the silence of wealth was shattered by the desperate sobs of a little girl. Kneeling on the polished hardwood floor was Emily, only 7 years old, her tiny hands pressed against. The ground beside her, a silver bucket, had overturned, its water spreading like tears across the floor. Her dress, once a soft shade of blue, now clung to her trembling body as she wept. "My hand, it hurts so much," she cried, her fragile voice echoing through the long hallways. But instead of comfort, there stood only one figure near her, someone who should have shown kindness, yet instead watched with cold indifference. It was her stepmother, Clara, a woman draped in jewels and elegance, but with a heart hardened like stone. And as Emily cried, Clara's lips curled almost in satisfaction at the sight of her pain. At that very moment, footsteps echoed from the doorway. The man of the house, Richard, Emily's father, had just returned from an important business meeting. A man of power and authority, admired by strangers and celebrated in boardrooms, he was about to step into a scene that would change all their lives forever. Emily was only a child, but her life had been filled with burdens too heavy for her tiny shoulders. Though her father was a millionaire respected in society, she lived more like a shadow within her own home. Her mother had passed away years earlier, leaving behind a void that no amount of money could fill. And into that void stepped Clara, the woman outsiders saw as beautiful, generous, and kind. But behind the closed doors of the mansion, her true nature emerged. For Emily, every day began with chores, scrubbing floors, polishing silver, carrying loads far beyond her strength. Mistakes were punished with scolding or worse. That morning, as she tried to clean the floor, she slipped. A glass shattered, cutting her small hand. Tears spilled down her face, not just from the wound, but from the loneliness of having no one to hold her, no one to say it would be okay. Her sobs filled the kitchen, echoing across the grand halls. And just then, Richard stepped through the doorway, briefcase in hand. His eyes widened at the sight before him, his little girl on the floor clutching her bleeding hand, while Clara loomed above her with cold disapproval. For a moment, time froze. Richard had always been a man consumed by business deals, chasing fortune, success, and respect. He believed that providing wealth was enough. But as he stood there, watching Emily's trembling shoulders, hearing her cry out in pain, he realized something he had ignored for far too long. The most important meeting of his life was not in any boardroom, it was with his own daughter's broken heart. Clara, sensing his presence, quickly adjusted her expression, painting on a mask of false innocence. She pretended as if she had been helping Emily, but the sight of blood on the child's small hand shattered every excuse, every lie. Richard's chest tightened as guilt flooded him. He remembered his late wife's words, spoken years ago as she cradled their newborn baby. "This little girl is the most precious gift life has given us. Protect her, always." How had he drifted so far from that promise? Emily's childhood had been painted in loneliness. Each morning she rose quietly, slipping from bed before anyone else stirred, heading straight to the kitchen for chores. No gentle voice woke her, no loving hands brushed her hair. Instead, Clara's cold commands filled the air. Not clean enough. Do it again. The words haunted Emily daily. Yet she never told her father the truth. She loved him too much and feared that if he knew, he would blame himself. So she stayed silent, hiding her pain behind small smiles at dinner. But children cannot carry silence forever. Each night, Emily whispered a prayer by her bed, asking her late mother to watch over her, to somehow send her father's love back to her. She didn't want riches or jewels. All she longed for was warmth, protection, and love. That morning was different. The water spilled, the glass broke, and the cut forced her to cry louder than ever before. Her stepmother scolded her, but her sobs only grew stronger. And fate had aligned because her father returned home earlier than expected. Richard stood frozen, watching the heartbreaking scene. Emily's small voice, trembling with fear, whispered again, "My hand hurts." The words pierced him like a knife. He dropped his briefcase, the leather case hitting the polished floor with a dull thud. Ignoring the expensive suit that brushed against the spilled water, Richard knelt beside his daughter. His hands trembled as he reached for hers. Emily flinched at first, used to harshness. But when she realized it was her father, she allowed him to hold her hand. Richard pressed a handkerchief to the wound, his chest tightening as guilt consumed him. He wasn't just trying to stop the bleeding, he was trying to heal years of neglect, years of absence, years of unspoken love. For the first time he saw his daughter clearly, not as a shadow in the corner of his luxurious mansion, not as someone cared for by another, but as the little girl who needed him. Tears welled in his eyes as memories of his late wife returned. She had entrusted him with their daughter's heart, and he had failed her. But not anymore. Looking into Emily's tear-streaked face, Richard made a silent promise. This would be the moment everything changed. The world of wealth and power he had built suddenly seemed meaningless compared to the fragile child in his arms. And as he held her, whispering soothing words, he knew that no business deal, no empire, no riches could ever compare to the love of a daughter and the duty of a father. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Every story we tell is a reminder that love and empathy are never wasted.